This hour, we'll dive into today's top stories, including a new state law that, at the urging of Attorney General Ken Paxton, allows public schools to set aside time for prayer in classrooms. I'm Frank Billingsley.
And I'm Celeste Diaz-Sherman. We'll also speak with Kelly Young, the CEO of Coalition for the Homeless Houston, who will join us to discuss the city's new rules for the unhoused.
Plus, we'll also learn more about the Houston area nonprofit Epilepsy Foundation Texas and their mission to improve the lives of those affected by epilepsy.
And we want to hear from you. Give us a call or send us a text at 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. You can also watch us on YouTube by going to houstonpublicmedia.org and clicking the big orange banner.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. The public is hearing from a group of women who say they were sexually abused by Jeffrey Epstein. 6 years after the once powerful financier was found dead in a New York jail cell from an apparent suicide, his accusers have joined bipartisan calls in Congress for the Trump administration to release all the files it has on the convicted sex offender, his imprisoned associate Ghislaine Maxwell, and any others who have yet to be identified. Today, reporters heard from Lisa Phillips, who says Epstein introduced her to the owner of Ford Modeling.
Epstein's reach went to the very top of fashion, arts, and entertainment. This did not just happen to underage girls in Florida. In New York City, hundreds of young, ambitious women were abused by him. Epstein was not just a serial predator, he was an international human trafficker. And many around him knew, many participated, and many profited.
Yesterday, Republican Congressman Thomas Massie filed a discharge petition to force a House vote on releasing the Epstein files. Vice President J.D. Vance is in Minneapolis to meet privately with family members affected by the shooting at Annunciation Catholic Church last Wednesday, which left 2 children dead and 21 people injured. In the wake of the shooting, some mayors in Minnesota are urging Governor Tim Walz to call state lawmakers into special session to consider a ban on assault-style weapons. Clay Masters with Minnesota Public Radio reports.
The mayors of some of Minnesota's most populous cities are calling for a statewide ban on assault-style weapons. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry says if the state legislature doesn't pass a ban, it should let cities act.
We see the aftermath and how communities are broken apart by gun violence. We have the ability to change, and so give us the authority to do it. Change the law that preempts cities from acting if you are not able to do it yourselves.
Democrats have slim control of state government here in Minnesota. Some Republicans in the state legislature say city-by-city ordinances would intrude on gun rights. For NPR News, I'm Clay Masters in St. Paul.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio is meeting with Mexico's president as he vows to wage war on drug cartels. The U.S. military struck a boat from Venezuela ahead of his latest trip to the region. Here's NPR's Michelle Kellerman.
In Miami, as he boarded his plane to Mexico, Rubio described the attack on the boat as a signal to all drug cartels.
The president is going to be on offense against drug cartels and drug trafficking in the United States. It destabilizes not just the country, but the entire Caribbean basin.
He brushed off a question about the legality of the strike. The Trump administration's crackdown on illegal migration is another big theme of Rubio's visit to Mexico and Ecuador. Mexican President Claudio Sheinbaum says the U.S. and Mexico have been working on security arrangements that respect Mexico's sovereignty. Michelle Kellerman, NPR News, Mexico City.
It's NPR.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Alexandra Hart. A $1 million bond has been set for the man accused of killing an 11-year-old boy playing a ding-dong ditch prank in East Houston over the weekend. 42-year-old Gonzalo Leon Jr. is charged with murder. Police say that Julian Guzman and his friends were ringing doorbells and running away from houses while attending a birthday party. Leon's house was one of the homes targeted in the prank, and when Guzman ran away after ringing his doorbell, Leon allegedly shot him in the back. District Judge Emily DeToto said that she set the bond at $1 million because of the potential that more serious charges could be brought against Leon, according to the Houston Chronicle. The Texas Senate has advanced a bill allowing private citizens to sue over abortion pills sent to them in the mail. The legislation needs one more vote before it heads to the governor's desk. Brandon Roninghouse is a politics professor at the University of Houston. He told Houston Matters this morning that the bill may face legal hurdles.
If it's the case that you can't mail these pills to people in a different state, then the restrictions on abortion providing will be pretty apparent in other places like New York, where there's certainly current lawsuits on it. So there's still a bit, I think, of legal morass to work through on this.
The bill, as written, makes it possible to sue for up to $100,000 for people who send abortion medication to Texas. Charges against a Houston area attorney accused of bringing drugs into the Harris County Jail have been dropped. Jason Johnson's trial was supposed to be 2 weeks away. He was accused of smuggling in a document laced with synthetic marijuana into the jail. He was also accused of possessing child pornography. In a statement to ABC 13, District Attorney Teare says the reason the charges were dropped is because prosecutors realized the evidence wasn't, quote, there to support a conviction, specifically pointing out that many witnesses' stories changed over time. It's currently 85 degrees here on the University of Houston campus. The high today will be near 92 degrees. There's a 20% chance of precipitation early this afternoon. I'm Alexandra Hart, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Progressive Insurance, where drivers can compare direct rates using Progressive's rate comparison tool. Customers can see options and rates side by side. More at progressive.com or 1-800-PROGRESSIVE.
Live from the University of Houston, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's your host for Hello Houston, Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
It's so funny. Because Celeste, hello, Houston.
Hello, Houston.
Celeste said, should we hold this until Thursday? And I said, tomorrow's Thursday.
I know, yes.
When you have that Labor Day Monday.
It throws everything off.
It really is. Me too.
Yeah.
I can't believe we're at Hump Day.
Exactly. And so thanks for joining us today on Hump Day and tuning in to Hello, Houston. Ernie is out on vacation. Today is September 3rd.
2025.
2025, baby. We're cooking. If you haven't, be sure to check out our YouTube channel where you can find today's live stream and all of Hello Houston's episodes. Just go to youtube.com/Houston Public Media. Be sure to like and subscribe. And of course, if you're listening to us on 88.7, thanks for tuning in.
And all of our guests are live in studio today, which is always an interesting conversation. So if you would like to join it, 713-440-8870. You can text us at that number also. Sean Teare will be here in our next hour to talk to us about this unfortunate murder that occurred.
It's so tragic.
It's horrible, but I have a lot of questions about just who these people are that were involved in this and what happened there. So, it's on a national level. People are asking questions. So we have some to ask Sean, but a lot of interesting things. We're going to talk about epilepsy, homelessness.
Yes.
We have a mystery author who can also advise you if you'd like to write that. Do you have a novel in you?
I don't think I do. And I was just going to say, I feel like I've had so many conversations with friends who say that they would love to write a book. I mean, you're an author. You wrote a book.
And there's usually one in most of us, you know. I mean, Eric Siegel, Love Story, Peter Benchley, Jaws, Mario Puzo, The Godfather. I mean, once you get that really great book out of you, you ain't got nothing left. Unless you're Clancy, then you can write. Tom Clancy writes, and Patterson. Patterson, one novel. I've heard that Patterson doesn't even write them anymore. He just puts his name on them.
I'm sure a lot of people do.
Well, he publishes a book a month.
Well, yeah, that's a tough one. But if you want to join the conversation, again, like Frank said, 713-440-8870. Coming up on Hello Houston, the CEO of Coalition for the Homeless Houston, Kelly Young, will join us to discuss the city's new rules for the unhoused. But Frank, weather.
Quick little weather note. We're going to have hot and dry as we go through the rest of this week.
Okay.
By the weekend, by Sunday and Monday, there are rain chances. And the reason is that there is a Hurricane Lorena, tropical storm turning into a tropical storm Lorena, it's in the Pacific.
Okay.
The moisture with it is going to move across the Baja, across Arizona, across New Mexico, across the Panhandle, and into Houston. It's going to make a circle around that area, and it'll be in Houston on Sunday and Monday. So a Pacific storm is going to affect us with rain at the end of the weekend and the beginning of next week. That's all I wanted to say about weather.
Okay, and so we're going to be vigilant watching that, and we'll keep you
well,
all...
I mean, it's not a wind or a wave or
it's
just going to be some heavy rain we may see out of it.
See, that part right there is
The
what
heavy
you
rain
have
part?
to do. Is that what I hear? Heavy
as long
rain.
as you remember one thing, I'll continue to be a success.
Remember,
just remember one thing.
But yes, but first, the headlines. A new Texas law permits public schools to set aside time for prayer in classrooms, and Attorney General Ken Paxton is encouraging schools to do so. Senate Bill 11, which went into effect this week, allows school boards to set aside time for voluntary prayer or reading of religious text. Paxton on Tuesday encouraged Texas schools to move quickly, saying he wants, quote, the Word of God opened, the 10 Commandments displayed, and prayers lifted up in classrooms. Paxton also recommended students start with the Lord's Prayer. Under the new law, each school district's board of trustees must take a recorded vote within 6 months on whether to adopt such a policy. Students would need parental consent to participate. The measure also directs the Attorney General's office to provide legal representation to districts or charter schools that implement prayer policies. SB 11 is part of a broader push by Texas Republicans to increase religious expression in public schools. Now is the time to join us. Give us a call. What are your thoughts on this policy? Allowing designated time for prayer and religious readings. You can give us a call at 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org.
It seems a little heavy-handed to me. I mean, are schools considered religion or state? Because the separation of the two.
And I think that's what we're seeing, right? We're seeing Texas elected officials continue to blur the lines of separation of church and state, and it's beginning to feel quite almost like religious coercion.
Well, and it's almost like an indoctrination. Mm-hmm. That's because it's a specific religion. I mean, to say, and when you were first reading that, I thought, well, that's fair. It allows school boards to set aside time for voluntary prayer or the reading of religious texts. That's followed by the Word of God, meaning one God. Hindus believe in many gods. Mm-hmm. And then I think, all have different interpretations of God. Some people just believe in a higher power. Other people believe that God is not existent at all. So to respect everyone's freedom of expression and freedom of religion, to say so heavy-handedly, let's start with the Lord's Prayer, which is Christian-based, and then the 10 Commandments, which is Judean-based, I will say. But the whole idea, I get where he's coming from. It's starting to feel like growing up in Birmingham, Alabama again, a very strong religious, Christian-based platform.
Right. And I think that we have to make it clear that there are a lot of Christians that look at this and say, this is not necessarily what I would want in my own public school. And I think that there's a fundamental evangelical Christian group that is pushing this, that basically ruins it for the rest of people that are saying, Christians that are saying, this is not what our religion is based on, right. Inclusivity. This is not based on free will. I mean, it's one of those things where our students go to school to learn math, science, reading. Not all Christians are made the same. And
I think that's an excellent point. And that's why we have Sunday school. By the way, that's where I learned everything. And then there was Young Life that I went to, and there was Wednesday church school that we would go to at night for youth fellowship. So there are a lot of places, if you really want to know about religion, you really want to participate in religion, there are plenty of places to do it. Right. School is for learning about the world, not necessarily a specific.
And your education.
land.
And I also think it's interesting. I mean, as a parent, you also know, if I tell my kids, hey, you're going to do this, the less likely they're going to do it.
You see Miguel Castro on YouTube says, who's going to pray with the kids? What if the teachers don't want to?
Yeah, I don't know. And we also have a call from Thomas from Montgomery. Thomas, welcome to Hello Houston. What is on your mind?
Well, they've had prayer in schools ever since there's been tests and exams, so that's nothing new.
Right.
And New Jersey, when I was going to school, they gave the kids options to indulge in some kind of silent prayer at the beginning of the school days. That's nothing new. Why does Texas insist on copying what other states do?
Well, why
anything original?
Why do we insist on putting the caveat that we want the Word of God open, the Ten Commandments displayed, and prayers lifted up in classrooms, and we should start with the Lord's Prayer? It's one thing to have a quiet moment to pray, or just to have some meditation. Just think through your day.
Grounding yourself.
Sure.
Yep.
And a little mental yoga never hurts anyone. Right. But these from Paxton, of all people, let's just add that. From him, I mean, come on. I mean, he doesn't know the Ten Commandments as well as I do. I can assure you of that. All right, this is a text. Thank you, Thomas, for that call.
Thank you, Thomas.
713-440-8870. We would love to hear from you. So this is a great text. Prayer time in classrooms. Does that mean a Muslim student is allowed to pray also, or does this only apply to Christians? And I would point out, that's from C.K. Magnolia. I would point out that Muslims, they pray 5 times a day. And they pray in a certain direction, and they also bow before Allah, and they are down in their prayer position, and with a mat. Mm-hmm. So there are specific rules to their prayers, and will they, if not allowed, and even if they are allowed, aren't you putting a little bit on a 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old to participate in this one way or another?
I think, to CK's point, does that mean a Muslim student is allowed to pray also, or does this only apply to Christians? I think that's something that whenever I've been looking into this, and there's not real clarity in here. We just know what the Attorney General, Paxton is encouraging school boards to say, but I think that's his encouragement, but I'm not sure if it's just across the board. And we also got a YouTube comment. Denise, the Wine Goddess Texas, says all religious activity should be outside of school, period. And that is one thought process that people feel like there's no place for this in public school.
Well, and then at the same time, Texas rules out, which we're going to talk about, DEI. In schools where you can't have a club, you can't have a religious club, I guess. If you wanted to have a Muslim club, could you? Or is that too DEI? Could you have a Muslim club and say we want to pray in our own way from 7:45 to 8 o'clock in the morning as a part of our club? And no, you can't do that. But you got to have 20 minutes at lunch to read the Bible we know it.
Again, 713-440-8870. Rosa from West University is on the line. Rosa, welcome to Hello Houston. What is your comment or question?
What I'm saying is the hypocrisy doesn't have, what an hypocrisy. I am a believer, but what they're doing is disgusting. It is disgusting. It puts a black eye into Christianity because we have to respect everybody and we cannot impose our views or our beliefs, especially on children.
Well,
that is a parent's
Rosa,
decision.
I agree with you. And if you listen to our show a lot, then you have heard me say so many times, just put out the golden rule that was actually based in Christianity, but it goes through all religions. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And if you follow that, you're going to be 99% of the time in an okay position.
And, Rosa, I agree with you as well. But I also think that this feels, we're towing the line of unconstitutional when we're looking at the separations of church and state.
Absolutely.
And we're looking also not just from a state level, but also from a federal level. Again, 713-440-8870. We do have more calls coming through. If you have a comment or question about this, we are talking about the new law that just went into effect this week, where SB 11, which will now have school districts or board of trustees can take a recorded vote within 6 months on whether to adopt such a policy, which is allowing schools to set aside time for religious prayer and religious readings.
But and also to increase religious expression in public schools. But to your point, a certain kind of religious expression. Right. And that not even those who are strong Christians feel is the way to go about this. It just puts too much pressure.
And I also think there are a lot of strong Christians that feel this is not the way to go about this. I mean, we heard Rosa, and it doesn't just alienate people who are not Christians, but it also alienates Christians who believe that there should be separation between church and state.
And I think that's scary because it's going all the way through colleges now, of how you can express yourself, what time of day you can express yourself. I mean, there's a whole push, not just religious, but taking away freedoms of expression. Now, the ACLU is on this whole issue of DEI clubs in schools because they feel like it's certainly taking away a freedom of expression if a group of students wants to have a club about the world flags, for instance.
Right. 713-440-8870. Louis from Cyprus is on the line. Louis, welcome to Hello Houston. What is your question or comment?
From my opinion, this country was founded in God We Trust by the forefathers. Our money says, in God we trust. And it's voluntary. It's not like they're forcing anybody to have to do it, and the parents have to give permission. And then if we're going to think of doing anything for everyone because they're from different places, when we do a Pledge of Allegiance, is it okay to do Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of America? That's there too. I mean, if you go that far, you got to do it. You got to take it all in. But I don't see a problem with it, and I respect it.
Well, Louis,
Louis.
you kind of lost me. You kind of lost me at the Pledge of Allegiance. We're all living in America, and if you don't want to pledge allegiance to America, then don't be in America.
And we appreciate you, Louis, for giving us a call and that perspective. We welcome all perspectives. I think there are a big group of Texans and Americans who think that this is the right way we should be moving towards.
Did you say a big group?
I think that voted for very conservative type policy. And if we look at this just from a policy perspective, Governor Abbott's been our governor for a long time.
It's hard to get out of the governorship once you're in it.
Yeah.
He didn't even show up for debates.
Again, 713-440-8870. Louis, thank you for that call. Mark from Spring Branch is on the line. Mark, welcome to Hello Houston. What is your comment or question?
Good morning, guys.
Morning.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny, right, when it's about LGBTQ rights or DEI, we can't teach that in school because we don't want indoctrination, right? We want education. But then when it comes to this, indoctrination is completely fine, right? I mean,
yes.
It's a little bit hypocritical to say the least, especially like you're saying. I mean, the guy who's telling us to do it, going through all the troubles, personally that he's going through because I think he's missed a couple of those commandments himself. But it's weird that and I grew up here in Houston. I mean, I get it. We grew up playing football, and everybody would bow down before a game, and you pray. And I didn't have a problem with it, but I do. I mean, I can read the Constitution, right? There should be a separation between church and state, and I completely agree. With both. Hey, it should be about education and not indoctrination, but completely no one's religion, right? It should be, hey, we could learn about them all, but school isn't a place where we should be practicing religion.
Fair enough, Mark. Thank you so much for the
Mark,
call.
for the
Let's move to Cindy from Montrose. Cindy, welcome to Hello Houston.
Hello. My only comment is that the original Plymouth group came from a Christian country. They came from England, the Church of England, and they risked their lives and just uprooted their entire families to come over here to be able to have freedom of religion. And I think Christianity is the root of freedom of religion. And I just think it's interesting that that's just what I think.
How is Christianity the root of freedom of religion?
Well,
the Billingsleys were Quakers. The Billingsleys came over as Quakers, and because they were shunned in England and then in Holland, so they came to America for freedom of expression, and they were shunned there too. By the way,
right. Well, it's easy to be shunned, and it's a working out process for sure. But I just think that there's something in Christianity that made them feel that they wanted to be able to worship and figure it all out the way they were on a journey.
Okay, but why did the forefathers, why did our founders, why didn't they say a freedom of Christianity or freedom to practice Christianity and not freedom of religion?
I'm trying to speak in favor of what you're saying. I'm just saying to say that everybody has to worship this way is the opposite of what I think
Gotcha.
the Plymouth people were trying to do.
Gotcha.
That's all.
I agree
Thank
with you.
you, Cindy, for giving us a call and sharing your perspective. Let's go to Kevin from the North Side. Kevin, welcome to Hello Houston. What is your question or comment?
Hello, thank you for taking my call. So my issue is, I think it was a few sessions ago, the Republicans passed a no, what was it called? Critical race theory. They banned critical race theory because they said it was indoctrination. And so now they are actually trying to indoctrinate children. And I'm a Christian. I have no problem with you going to your church and you're learning from your youth pastor and stuff of that nature about how Christianity works. But now if they pass this bill where you're allowed now, children are allowed to open up their Bibles in class or wherever, and now they're going to have questions. So now all of the stuff that these teachers are already dealing with, now they're going to have to be able to answer theological questions, and so as scripted as HISD already is, how are they going to have time to answer these kind of questions? There are adults that don't understand the Bible. And so now you're saying that these kids are going to start doing this, and they may bring questions to the teacher that they can't even answer. They're not even qualified to answer. And I don't want my math teacher teaching my daughter theology. I rely on me and my pastor and my youth pastor to do that.
Thank
well
you,
said,
Kevin.
We got to wrap. Let me end with my thought.
Sure.
Is that what makes this country so amazing is that so many people with so many religions and so many thoughts can come here and worship the way they feel and proceed with their life the way they are going to pursue life, liberty, and happiness. And for us to start pigeonholing and saying, but in our public schools, not a private Catholic school, but in our public schools, we have to have this doctrination, this doctrine. That, to me, takes away the American spirit.
And you know what makes Christianity amazing is that it's founded in respect and love. And this is not an example of that. Coming up on Hello Houston, the CEO of Coalition for the Homeless Houston, Kelly Young, will join us to discuss the city's new rules for the unhoused. This is News 88.7. Stay with us.
With federal support gone, Houston Public Media needs a stronger foundation for the future. The Houston Public Media Resiliency Fund is our response to ensure this service remains strong, stable, and community-powered. Your gift today helps us stay on the air tomorrow and the day after that. Give now to the Resiliency Fund at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 800-364-8300.
Is your essential daily guide to the people, places, issues, and ideas that define Greater Houston.
Vulnerable households that have less of a means to recover from a flood, have less money to do it, are concentrated in the highest flood risk neighborhoods.
There's never going to be a perfect moment to come out or reveal something about yourself. There's never going to be a perfect moment to call somebody you haven't spoken to in years. Don't wait for all the stars to align.
I'm Craig Cohen. Join us for the next Houston Matters, weekday mornings at 9 here on News 88.7.
Support comes from electricityplans.com, helping Houstonians find electricity plans based on home energy usage, with tools to compare rates. Enrollment details and more at electricityplans.com.
Support comes from Avenue 360 Health and Wellness, expanding care throughout Houston with their new mobile clinic. Services include exams, preventative dental, immunizations, community education, and more. Details at avenue360.org.
Now back to Hello Houston. To comment on any of today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's Celestia Sherman and Frank Billingsley.
The city's civility ordinances bans sitting, lying down, or leaving belongings on sidewalks are no longer just downtown rules. Now they're being enforced in residential areas like Riverside Terrace, pushing homeless individuals off public property and often onto private land. Kelly Young, CEO of the Coalition for the Homeless, says these measures don't solve homelessness. They just shift it. Without serious investment in housing and services, she warns the problem only moves, not disappears. And to tell us more, we are joined by Kelly herself. Kelly Young, good morning, Kelly, and welcome to Hello Houston.
Thank you so much for having me. Glad to be here.
We're so glad you're here. Good to see you again.
It's lovely to see you.
And what is the enforcement if someone is where they're not supposed to be? What do they do to them?
Well, it's a citation, so it's a civil
they're
offense.
They're going to have money to pay the citation.
Right.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, but before we get into the civility ordinances, I do want for you to give us just a little bit about, give us a background about homelessness in the area. For example, what people might not know is the primary cause of homelessness in Harris County and Fort Bend and I believe
Montgomery
County.
Right. So we're the local COC, the coalition. Where the coalition oversees the continuum of care model, and so that's basically overseeing the federal dollars that come in to address homelessness, and the main causes, which we recognize every year through our point in time count, is first and foremost some type of economic change, or upset in somebody's life, or family conflict, and then people also do report mental health and substance use.
Right. So the number one, I think that's what I found so interesting. I was looking over your point in time survey and looking at that was that economic change was
Correct.
the number one factor. And I think people often go to mental health or there's a lack of services. So when we're looking at civility ordinances, what exactly is happening? I know, Frank, and you started talking about it, but what's happening and what are they that people might not understand?
So I think there's two things. I think for communities, especially when they're having to address homelessness in their own neighborhoods, they're seeing it as a mechanism, a tool that they could use to help get people where they need to go. I don't think it necessarily means that people are like, I don't want them in my neighborhood. I'm hoping it's going to be a catalyst into getting services or getting you where you need to go. But staying in my neighborhood and on my street in front of my house is difficult for me. I mean, I have empathy for that, but at the same time, I don't want to wake up every morning and have to move you, off of my sidewalk. So we understand that from the coalition perspective. So it's really a tool for law enforcement and for community. The tools we use at the coalition is housing interventions, outreach, using data to make really good determinations about what we're going to need in our community, and then trying to bring as much funding in we can from the federal government, from the state, locally, to be able to respond quickly and effectively to homelessness in our communities.
Well, and we've responded by saying you can be homeless, but not on the streets and not in the parks. So you need to go to a shelter or somewhere else. And that's the problem that we're facing here.
Well, I think one of the things is that it pushes organizations like my organization and those that I work with to think about doing our work differently. Because now we also have a boundary set by law enforcement or by communities that says, okay, we understand the problem, but we really need you to resolve it. So what it helps us do is then rethink how we want to address the issue at hand so that we can solve it for that person. And one of the things is that when we made an investment in 2012 around addressing homelessness, it really was into housing interventions only, which means we don't have great front doors. It's hard for somebody to know where to go to actually access service. And so this pushes us to think differently and shift the paradigm around the way we do our work. So those individuals that are still on the street, that we actually help them figure out what is the best option for them versus there being no boundary around that at all. And so that person could linger and not actually have an intervention that might work for them because there's nobody reinforcing it.
Is there a place to go?
So we have spent the last year developing, and these are in small pilot projects. So one of the things about the ordinance, and if you talk with Director Satterwhite, is that enforcement is not made unless there's a place to go. So if I don't have a place to send somebody that night, they're not going to enforce the ordinance because they understand that that's not an option. And so we've been working a small pilot project with the Houston Recovery Center that, and particularly in downtown, was to ask people, go out and do outreach and say, are you interested in housing? Are you interested in a different intervention? As long as we had the resources to do it. If they were willing to accept that, great. If they weren't, we'd say, well, would you be willing to stay overnight at the recovery center and in the morning meet with a case manager? Because we really need to figure out something better for you than just staying on the street.
Is there any kind of free bus, for instance, that would travel around and say, get on this bus. I'm going to take you where you need to go. It's free. Just get on the bus.
It's really not about the mechanism for moving people. It's about the safety and trust of that person. So it'd be like anybody else, right? Somebody came up to you and said, hey, I'm going to take you to your medical appointment or whatever, and you don't know them.
They feel safe out there on the street by themselves.
Right, because they have their community. They know that this is your family, and this is, you already know how to resource yourself on the street. But to have a total stranger come up to you and start talking to you and then say you have to go here or this, you'll have to give up your belongings, you'll have to give up your dog. These are no longer people who you're going to be around. That's
they're not going to go for that.
Right. It's very unsettling. It doesn't mean that you don't keep working on that, right? So outreach is really all about building relationships. So you could have multiple contacts with outreach workers before somebody even talks to you. You leave water, you leave a snack. So what we found, though, particularly in downtown, and this is why it's really important to actually push ourselves sometimes to think about different interventions, is that our data told us one thing, and then when we went down with a different intervention, the data started to tell us a different thing. And what I mean by that is we would interview people, and we were finding that more people downtown had recently become homeless. So they were working. They didn't have a documented disability. They just couldn't afford where they were living.
How long is somebody homeless within our area usually?
Well, before on chronicity, we had a very long period of time. It was one of the reasons HUD came in and basically said, you're terrible and you need to develop a better system. It's what our national model was based on, was that we actually collaboratively came together and said, we're not going to do a charity response to homelessness. We're going to do a systems response. We're going to take the data. We're going to figure out what resources we have, what sources of revenue we have, and then we're going to organize and coordinate services through that. That meant that you left people on the street who had not been on the street long enough to actually access the type of housing we have available. Mm-hmm. And so individuals who we spend most of our federal dollars, because almost all of the funding we get to address homelessness is federal money, is for somebody who has a documented disability and chronicity, been on the street the longest. So we do it by vulnerability and by barrier. Mm-hmm. And so those people get housed first because they're the ones who've been on the street the longest and need the service. Those that don't are basically asked to go to a shelter or go to an assistance ministries, and those are very much underfunded. So
well, I was going to ask if the federal money, is it still coming in?
Yes. So far we balance that out.
Tell me this: do you have any data? Because obviously there's a lot of data that you do here on what works. I mean, can you show me, Frank, who was homeless and for whatever reason and went to this program and now he's back on his feet and working again? I mean, is 10% of this work? Does 50%? What? How many people are successfully housed and then unhomeless? Well, I don't even
doesn't end up back on the street.
Correct. Yeah, gets off the street for good.
Yeah. So on average,
like
about
success
90
rates.
Yeah. On average, about 90% of people actually end up staying stable after 2 years. And what I want to point out,
that's wonderful.
Yeah. And what I want to point out is that's because we have a variety of housing intervention providers. So somebody who has a documented disability who may not work again, they have long-term permanent supportive housing as with services around them. Somebody who might only need 6 months, that program has a really robust employment services model. They help somebody get into a job. All of the programs help people with physical and mental health concerns, because if you've been on the street for any period of time, you're going to have some damage from street life. It's a very, very tough life. And so that is the key to success, is having multiple different types of housing interventions, but always having housing be the exit strategy for everyone.
You're listening to Hello Houston. We are speaking with Kelly Young, the CEO of the Coalition for the Homeless, about Houston civility ordinances. If you would like to join the conversation, give us a call or send us a text at 713-440-8870.
I think one of the reasons we don't understand it as well is because you were saying community. So a lot of times we stay in our own 5 miles, right? I mean, so we drive the same streets to school, to work, to wherever. And we see the same homeless people day after day. They used to say, "Hey, it's the weatherman." I mean, it's like we were
friends. They knew you too.
Yeah. So it's like we were friends. So we get this idea that once someone is homeless, they're just going to be either they're really not homeless and they're just panhandling on the street trying to get a buck out of everybody. So the empathy for this situation is like, hard to get to.
Correct. And I think, which sounds weird, I think it's counterintuitive, but I think in some cases people feel like ordinances help because it is a boundary you help set for somebody. So you're basically saying, so for example, the individuals you're seeing on the street, long period of time, I live in Midtown. And
that's gotten worse.
Yeah, and I know a lot of the individuals. Outreach, homeless response, can go in and ask, are you interested in housing and whatnot? If they turn you down, there's not much else I can do. Mm-hmm. I can't force somebody to take in a service. And so I think people get frustrated because you see all these homeless people and you haven't done anything. We housed 183 people over the last 6 months. We had 122 turn us down. So that's 122, what is going to be the motivator to help them? Mm-hmm. Some of the individuals who have severe mental health issues don't recognize that that this is a problem. They're not recognizing that their open wounds on their feet, that they haven't eaten a couple of days, is actually a problem. And so that is a case where you would want an enforcement mechanism or a medical response who has the right clinical ability to say, you really need care, and we're going to help you get that care.
Kelly, how would you say Houston and Harris County in our area does compared to other major metropolitan cities that are comparable to ours?
Oh, we are light years ahead of other cities, and we were able to do that. I want to be clear because I think sometimes it gets misconstrued. We were able to do that because of crisis funding, Hurricane Harvey, and COVID. And so we're actually on this path right now where we're basically seeing what the system actually can do without all of that influx of additional dollars, which is why when I took this job, my main goal was to figure out sustainable funding to get us to equilibrium, because we have run off federal dollars as long as we could. And COVID demonstrated to us what we would need to be able to have a full functioning response system. And I want to tell people, when I say a response system, I'm not trying to maintain homelessness. I'm trying to move anybody who might fall into homelessness through and out of homelessness within 90 days. That's what we mean.
Well, and it is thanks to people like Kelly Young, CEO of the Coalition for the Homeless, who we're speaking with. If you have a question, 713-440-8870. Can we circle back to why we're here? This ordinance, which can push people out of parks, out from under the freeway, out from the corner of the street, into your driveway. And now you're like, wait a minute. This ordinance is making the homeless problem my problem directly.
Yeah.
What are you all prepared to do to compromise with the city and maybe fix this?
So the very interesting thing is that the Coalition for the Homeless was actually created and sort of sits between the county and the city. So I answer to the county and the city.
God love you.
That's an interesting position to be in.
And one of the reasons we've been so successful is actually because we have good relationships with the city and county. We don't always agree on everything because they have their own things that they have to address from their perspective. We all have our own lanes in this work, and we have a very specific lane. And so I work very closely with the city and the county. What an ordinance says, first of all, I want to be clear, we've had a camping ban as the state of Texas. So when we've used camping bans to help close encampments, so we've at times used these tools in an appropriate manner to help us. What I want people to understand is that you just noticed homelessness because it's on your doorstep, but somebody who's working downtown has been managing and seeing homelessness on a regular basis. So we as a community have to make a decision. Do we want to make the investment needed to be able to move people off the street within 90 days, regardless of the situation, so that we as a community don't have to keep seeing it move around? We can just decide, you know what, we're going to be the first city to hit
How do we do that?
How do we make that investment?
Money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do we get the money?
Well, I mean, here's how I think about it. There's an interesting model out of Miami-Dade, and I think about it this way because they do it as sort of an entertainment tax. So you come in, you spend an extra
entertainment tax.
Yeah, it's basically you pay extra 2 cents on your mojito,
yeah,
or your mocktail.
Oh, I'm all for it.
And I don't know about you, but when I go on vacation, I spend an enormous amount of stuff on money that I would never spend in my regular life, but I'm on vacation, so I'm going to do it.
Right.
And so
that's why we're bringing the gay softball league. We talked about that yesterday.
Right. I mean, this is what you do. You go on vacation. I buy ridiculous things that I throw out a year later because I'm like, I don't know why I needed a T-shirt that said, go Florida. Like, I'm never going to wear that ever again. But I think the piece of that is, are we willing as a community? Because you're paying one way or the other. We may not want to think we are, but we're paying through the county hospitals. We're paying through HPD. We're paying anyway.
Okay, we got to wrap it up. So that kind of tax, does that come through the city or the county or the state?
Could be city, could be county, could be state.
Could be anybody that's willing to
who's willing to put it out there. And my question to everybody is, if you're going to pay for it one way or the other, let's pay for it in a way that actually gets us further along on the needle than
and doesn't hurt that much.
It doesn't hurt, and it doesn't. We're not even going to notice that after a year. And the other thing is, but you will notice it in your neighborhoods, and you won't have to pick sides about which tool is the correct tool to solve homelessness, because we'll get to use all of them.
You going to lobby for all this?
Yeah.
Yes. Kelly Young is the CEO of the Coalition for the Homeless. Kelly, thank you for joining us today on Hello Houston.
Happy to come back.
Yeah,
yes,
good to see you again.
Always nice seeing you.
Coming up, we'll talk to the CEO of Epilepsy Foundation Texas. Stay with us as Hello Houston continues.
Federal funding for public media has been cut. In response, we're creating Houston Public Media's Resiliency Fund. Donations made toward the fund will directly counter the loss of the $2.2 million in federal funds that were cut annually and strengthen our station's foundation to provide our services into the future. Contributing to this fund is easy and quick and makes all the difference to our station. Help build the Resiliency Fund now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate. /donate.
Or call 888-909-0887.
Imagine two friends getting together.
So what's happening in Congress?
Well, this is something that is going to be tough to defend in an election year. And that's assuming it even passes, which it might not.
Imagine you could listen in.
And then what about the Senate? The bills are just rocketing out of the chamber.
Have they gone too far? The House might say, well, wait a minute.
Well, you can. Party Politics with Brandon Rottinghouse and Geronimo Cortina. Fridays at 7:30 p.m. on News 88.7, at 8 on TV 8, and on your favorite podcast platforms.
I'm Jeremy Hobson. Next time on The Middle, Gen Z is the largest generation on the planet and makes up more than a quarter of the U.S. population. They grew up with the internet and have faced serious issues including anxiety, depression, a tough job market, and difficulty affording a home. So we're opening the phones to talk about the biggest challenges facing Gen Z. That's next time on The Middle.
You can hear that tomorrow night at 8 p.m.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from Certa Pro Painters, offering residential and commercial painting services, from color consultations to full project management. Estimates and more at certapro.com.
Support comes from Miller Outdoor Theater, presenting jazz pianist Isaiah J. Thompson, who has recorded with the Lincoln Center Orchestra this Friday at Miller Outdoor Theater, open to the public. More at milleroutdoortheater.com.
And now back to Hello Houston. To get your comment in on any of today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now here's Celestia Sherman and Frank Billingsley.
The Epilepsy Foundation Texas started in 1982 out of a house in Houston and now serves 176 of the 254 counties of Texas. The nonprofit seeks to improve the lives of those affected by epilepsy, which affects an estimated 300,000 people in the state of Texas, by providing care, education, advocacy, and connection, all free of charge. And joining us now to tell us more about Epilepsy Foundation Texas is its CEO, Chris Justl, as well as Rebecca Moreau, the operating officer. Welcome to Hello Houston. You know, I had a friend, a classmate in high school, and he had epilepsy. And he would take his fist, he would just start banging the desk,
Really?
and he couldn't stop. But nobody in 1975 really, we all called it epilepsy, but we didn't know anything about it except that it was scary. So, what is your mission? And I didn't mean to just start off like that. Welcome. We're glad y'all are here. But a lot of people, they hear of epilepsy, they don't really understand what it is.
Yeah, it's one of those almost hidden diseases in a way. And, I myself have epilepsy, and kind of like you were talking about, my first seizure was in high school here in Houston at Memorial High School. And no one knew what to do. I mean, this was back in the 90s. Oh, well, I was out cold, but no, they called the ambulance and rushed me off to the hospital, and then it was kind of like, oh yeah, you had a seizure. But it's truly hidden. You don't talk about it much, and unless you see it, kind of like you're talking about banging, which isn't always the case. It's not a whole lot.
Are seizures always connected to epilepsy? Because I feel like that's kind of a misconception.
Yeah, fainting too, right?
And
What
are the typical symptoms of somebody who's been diagnosed with epilepsy?
That's a great question. So there's over 40 types of seizures. A seizure is a brainstorm. So it's electricity in your brain that's coming out in different ways. So it could be like your classmate who is banging on the desk. It could be staring. Just staring.
Wow.
And then everybody knows generalized tonic-clonics, which are where you fall to the ground and you have convulsions.
Mm-hmm.
So, but not all seizures are connected to epilepsy. There are non-epileptic seizures.
So to make it a little more simple, so synapses and neurons, when you say electricity in the brain, that's what you're talking about. Everything's sort of saying, so when I do this with my fingers, when I touch my fingers together, my electricity in my brain is doing that.
Right.
When I'm walking, that's my electricity in the brain. Everything we do is the electricity. So when you have an epileptic seizure or moment, what do we know is causing the electricity to misfire?
So there's about 30% of epilepsy that we don't know why people are having seizures. About 60% we do know, either stroke or they had a brain injury, but there's a large number where we just don't know why they're having seizures.
And what is the process? So, for example, if you're a parent and your child has in high school and that happens, what is the process of going and being diagnosed for epilepsy specifically?
How were you diagnosed, Chris?
Yeah. So, the first thing they do, kind of the standard procedure, is to have an EEG, which basically they hook up a bunch of electrodes to your head. They watch your brain waves, those electrical impulses through your brain. And if it spikes in certain ways, they know, okay, you're having some abnormal brain activity. And, now they have progressed quite a bit since my day. Luckily, neurology has gotten a lot better. I happen to fall in that 30% that I have no idea what caused mine. But now, in many cases, they'll order things like MRIs, or other type of, physical type of testing. They'll usually do some blood work. And then now they put you into a room and monitor you with electrodes hooked up to your head for like a week or so. And they'll watch all of your mannerisms as well as just...
So do you still have those kind of issues with epilepsy?
So I have been seizure-free technically for, about 20 years now.
So you could have a one and done.
No, I was not one and done. I had multiple seizures.
Well, then what made it go away?
Drugs. I mean, there are oodles and oodles of medications for seizure disorders. And what's hard about it is that neurology is still an imperfect science.
Sure.
We're still learning about it. And so I had to go on to 4 different medications until I found one that worked. Some people never find one that work. And, our foundation is there to try and help them find care and compassion in all those circumstances, because it's hard.
That's what I was going to ask. You're the nonprofit, the Epilepsy Foundation. How are you all improving, and how do you find that help somebody who's coming to you and saying, hey, this is where I'm at?
I was thinking about those mamas out there who see their babies have that first and second seizure, and maybe they go on a lot of different medications, and they're on their 3rd or 4th medication and they're not finding the right treatment. We're there to help them go through that journey, to help them get to the medical center, to the right care. We also have services that are going to help them not feel alone.
Sure.
When you have epilepsy, you feel like you're the only one that has it and you're the only one who knows. But we have treatments for people who have no insurance. We have camps for kids and families who have epilepsy at no cost to them. And then we have education and advocacy that we're out there being the voice for our community.
So while it may not be curable, it's manageable, it sounds like, but yet it's chronic. It's still a chronic. Would you call it a disease? What would you call epilepsy?
You can call it a disease, condition. But whatever it is for your lifetime. You never know when it's going to come again. So I wake up every day. I take my medication that has worked for me for so long, but there's always something in the back of my head that's saying, is it going to come back?
It's today to the day.
It's today the day.
Yeah.
And so I think one of the biggest things, do you
wear a bracelet?
I do. It's right here.
Smart.
And it has on there that I have epilepsy and who to call and et cetera.
Do y'all help get those bracelets on people that might need them?
We do. That's one of the services that we offer. We get you connected with the right people.
Yeah. What do you think are some of the misconceptions about epilepsy that the foundation is working to break down?
Yeah, I would say first and foremost that while it is a chronic disease, and yes, it is scary in the moment, you can live through it and have a very full life. It is not, a sentence that you can't overcome. Right. I'm a living example of this, right? You can, if you keep trying and you persist, you will eventually find something that at least makes it better. Maybe not fully manageable, but better.
I think we also want to make Texas and Houston the most seizure-safe city in Texas, have the safest state. So we want to educate people about seizure recognition and seizure first aid, get the city certified. And so people with epilepsy are not afraid to go out and live their lives, and they know that people will be there to help them when they have a seizure.
That's a really interesting point, Rebecca. Can you talk to us a little bit about what y'all are doing to do exactly that? Because I didn't think about that.
Yes. So just like when you go get CPR certified, we have a seizure first aid certification program where you can go online to epilepsy.learn.com and get certified in epilepsy recognition and seizure first aid. It goes for 2 years. It's a 90-minute class. And the likelihood that you're going to see a seizure over a heart attack is very likely. 1 in 10 people will have a seizure in their lifetime.
Wow.
Now, how do we know, and it may not matter, but how do we know that a person is having an epileptic seizure or a TIA or some other kind of seizure?
It doesn't matter. When we are talking about seizures, we're going to treat them like it's an epileptic seizure.
So if you become certified in epilepsy seizures, you're pretty much seizure certified.
Yes, yes.
That's clever. So we're meeting you. Is this a large staff that we're dealing with, or is it small? I mean,
we're a fairly small organization, and we don't just service Houston. We service Dallas, Amarillo, El Paso. And there's only about, around 10 of us. And so, we rely a lot on the communities in which we live to do our good work.
We need to get you guys in South Texas.
Well, we do, yeah.
We have a sister affiliate there, yes.
Yes, we do. But we rely on the community to go and take our seizure first aid classes and to help us, honestly get the funds in to do the work that we do. Because without
state,
everyone,
federal, both. Where do your funds come from?
It's about a 50-50 split of state grant funding and other foundation funding, and then just generous donors of ours who have a very personal connection to this. But as Rebecca pointed out, it can happen to anyone at any time. And there have been some, awful stories of people having a seizure, right, in a public space. And, it's hard for police to sometimes, understand, is this person intoxicated?
Yeah, right.
Is he having a seizure? What is the circumstance? So they end up sometimes getting arrested and so forth. So that's why it's so important we create a seizure-safe city.
Mm-hmm. What can our listeners do to help?
Yeah, absolutely. So we'd love for you to get involved in a variety of ways. We have several really great opportunities this fall. One is we have our educational conference here in Houston on September 20th. Love to invite everyone to that. I think it's a whopping $5 to come join us. We have our gala on October 18th. And then we also have a walk in the woodlands on November 8th.
Excellent. Chris Justl is the CEO of Epilepsy Foundation Texas, and Rebecca, the Chief Financial Officer. Thank you both for joining us today on Hello Houston. Coming up, we'll continue diving into the top stories of the day. Stay with us for the second hour of Hello Houston.
Stay tuned. There's more Hello Houston on the way with Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at houstonpublicmedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
Tonight on Houston Public Media TV8, at 7, Nature presents Soul of the Ocean, followed at 8 by Nova and Decoding Da Vinci. Then at 9, it's Secrets of the Dead. Tonight on TV8 or stream on the PBS app.
Going to warm up today to about 92 and slight chance of an afternoon shower. It's 87. This is your NPR station, KUHF, Houston. News 88.7, a service of the University of Houston.
Just ahead on this hour of Hello Houston, we'll continue diving into today's top stories, including the Texas Senate approving a bill allowing private citizens to sue anyone who provides abortion medication to or from Texas. I'm Celeste Diaz-Sherman.
And I'm Frank Billingsley with the latest uproar over Cracker Barrel's new logo. Barbara Stewart, professor of retail and consumer science at the University of Houston, will join us to discuss the emotional power of branding.
Plus, we'll also speak with Houston-based author Marie-Claude Gingras, who will share advice on how to write your first novel.
And we want to hear from you. Give us a call or text us 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. You can also watch us on YouTube by going to houstonpublicmedia.org and clicking the big orange banner.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Lakshmi Singh. President Trump is disputing the notion that his administration's holding back files related to the late financier and convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
From what I understand, thousands of pages of documents have been given, but it's really a Democrat hoax because they're trying to get people to talk about something that's totally irrelevant to the success that we've had as a nation since I've been president.
Earlier in the hour, women who say they were abused by Epstein, in some cases when they were underage, were speaking out on Capitol Hill. They've joined a bipartisan congressional effort for full transparency. The women allege powerful people have yet to be held to account for participating in Epstein's crimes or covering up for him. Epstein died by suicide in 2019. President Trump addressed the Epstein file controversy as he was hosting the president of Poland, Karol Nawrocki. Esme Nicholson reports Russia's war with Ukraine is on the leader's agenda.
Nawrocki's meeting at the White House is his first foreign trip since taking office last month, and he is expecting a warm welcome. Trump has praised Poland for spending the highest GDP percentage of any NATO member on defence. But nervous of Russia, Nawrocki is expected to push for an increased US commitment to Polish security, including keeping US troops on NATO's eastern flank. And while Poland is a big purchaser of US weapons, Trump is expected to push Nawrocki to buy more, both for its own defence and on behalf of Ukraine. Nawrocki has promised to continue to support Kyiv, but like the US administration, has accused Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky of taking advantage of Ukraine's allies. For NPR News, I'm Esme Nicholson in Berlin.
A panel of the U.S. Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals has blocked the Trump administration from using a wartime power to deport Venezuelans from 3 states. NPR's Jimena Bustillo reports that means the issue of President Trump's use of the Alien Enemies Act could wind up back at the Supreme Court.
The latest court decision blocks deportations with the use of the act from Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. Earlier this year, Trump invoked the 18th century wartime power to help streamline deportations of Venezuelans he says are members of the Tren de Aragua gang. Since then, the use of this power has attracted numerous legal challenges, including 2 prior Supreme Court decisions. But the High Court has yet to directly address the larger question of whether Trump's invocation of the Alien Enemies Act at all was legal. This preliminary injunction can now be appealed by the Trump administration to settle that bigger question. Jimena Bustillo, NPR News, Washington.
At last check on Wall Street, the Dow Jones Industrial Average was down more than 200 points, or roughly 0.5%. The Nasdaq was up more than 200. You're listening to NPR News.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Alexandra Hart. Federal authorities were in Houston this morning to announce what they say is the largest seizure of precursor chemicals to make methamphetamine in U.S. history. U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, Janine Pirro, says the chemicals were sent from China and bound for the Sinaloa cartel in Mexico.
They would have been used to make 420,000 pounds of methamphetamine, which would have a street value here in Houston of $569 million.
She also said it was the first seizure since the Trump administration issued an order designating drug cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. The Texas House has passed a bill that would ban fundraising by any lawmaker who has fled the state as part of a quorum break. Austin Democrat Donna Howard spoke against House Bill 18, which comes after a Democratic quorum break that delayed the passage of a Republican-led congressional redistricting plan.
Those of you who are angered and frustrated that legislative plans were delayed by a couple of weeks have been blinded by the fact that HB 18 undermines the Constitution, and in doing so will intimidate future legislators. And one day, that minority will certainly be Republicans.
The bill would also impose a maximum fine of $5,000 on a lawmaker for each donation accepted. It would also fine contributors for every donation they make. The bill now advances to the Senate. 2 Durham elementary teachers were reassigned to home duty last week after Houston ISD Superintendent Mike Miles visited the school. Durham Elementary has been designated a special focus school. Angela Kelly is one of the teachers who was reassigned.
I was told that changes needed to be made on the campus and that they needed to protect the culture.
Houston ISD implemented major curriculum changes at Durham Elementary just days before the start of the school year. The Durham PTA released a statement alleging the reassignments are retaliation for criticism of the recent changes. HISD has not commented on the reassignments. I'm Alexandra Hart, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Progressive, with small business insurance for protecting a variety of business types with multiple coverage options, designed to fit business owners' needs. More about small business insurance is at progressivecommercial.com.
From Houston Public Media and News 88.7, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now, Hello Houston with Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
Welcome to the second hour of Hello Houston.
The first hour was pretty interesting.
It was. It was very interesting.
You know what gets our listeners going?
Yep. Tell me.
Whenever you're talking about personal rights and decisions,
Yeah.
people take their privacy and their right to make their own decisions very seriously.
Autonomy over our life.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And they are really bristling. We may find this comes back to bite the Republicans because they are really putting their feet in quicksand, and they better be careful.
Well, that's why it is so important to make sure you go out and vote.
Yes, and we want to hear from everybody. So
that's right.
We usually just hear from the people that are objecting.
That's right. But give us a call, 713-440-8870. If you are tuning in, thanks for joining us.
You know what I forgot to tell you?
Tell me.
We have a little northwest flow coming for today and through tomorrow, which you may have noticed last night. Kevin and I walked to dinner last night. We'd never been to On the Curb, which is like KIRB, like for Kirby. I think there was one on Kirby. This one is over on the freeway. It was fabulous. It's a little sports bar. They had really good food. They promised to have a good brunch. So we enjoyed ourselves. But we walked from our new high rise
Congrats.
On the Curb. Yeah.
Frank's got some new digs.
Yeah. It's a crib.
A crib.
If you want to pretend like you weren't born in 1960.
That's what we should do, Frank. Do like cribs like back in the early 2000s of Frank's house on Houston Public Media. That's what we need to do.
It's not. But we walked, and I was like, we were both commenting, gosh, it feels really good. Then I had to take my car into the shop this morning.
And it didn't feel that great.
And that's over on Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
So we walked. We both dropped it off because we had to take the dog in.
Right.
Had to take the dog to the shop. Had to take
All
the
the
car to the
things.
shop. And then I had to go. Kevin brought me to the shop. So we walked from Alabama to where we were.
You are making
I
me
know.
laugh.
All right. There was a tragedy on Saturday that you know about.
Yes. This hour, we're going to be keeping you all updated. And coming up on Hello Houston with the latest uproar over Cracker Barrel's new logo, Barbara Stewart will be joining us. She's a professor of retail and consumer science at the University of Houston to be talking about logos and the emotional power that they have over us. But let's jump right into the headlines. A 42-year-old man is charged with murder after he allegedly shot an 11-year-old boy who was playing the Ding Dong Ditch game on Saturday night. Gonzalo Leon Jr. is accused of fatally shooting 11-year-old Julian Guzman. Court records show that Guzman, his cousin, and some other friends were at a relative's house on Racine Street attending a birthday party. The boys got bored and decided to play the Ding Dong Ditch game around the neighborhood. This truly is a tragic story. We will keep everyone updated. Court records show that when Leon allegedly walked out to his house onto a public street, pointed a gun, and fired. Leon appeared before a judge this morning. His bail was set at $1 million. Joining us now is Harris County District Attorney Sean Teare to discuss the latest on this case. Harris County District Attorney Teare, thank you so much for joining Frank and myself today on Hello Houston. What can you tell us the latest?
Well, the latest, as you just said, is that Judge Emily DeToto granted our request for $1 million bond on this defendant, which means that he'll be in custody for a while. And now it really is just us continuing to collect evidence, getting this picture as full as we can possibly paint it before we eventually present it to a jury.
Mr. Teare, there's no question this is tragic. 11-year-old boy shot to death, 11 o'clock at night, and just playing a game. I get all that. I do, and I know prosecutors it's in their DNA to go after the people they want to go after. This was an Army veteran that shot the boy. Presumably he had legal guns. I'm guessing these guns were legal. Is there any chance that he has PTSD that would have created this kind of violence? Or will you even explore that?
Yeah, we absolutely are going to explore everything. The job now is to get, as I said, the most full picture we can possibly get of who this defendant is. So we're going to look at everything. We're going to look at his records. We're going to look at, just kind of his past and really see if we can get a reason behind that. His defense team will be doing the same. But at the end of the day, there are always mitigating circumstances around a violent crime like this. But we have a dead 11-year-old boy who was doing nothing different than all of thousands and thousands of us have done in the past. Yeah. Someone's got to be held accountable.
Absolutely. District Attorney Teare, can you tell us about when law enforcement found is it Mr. Leon? When they found Mr. Leon, from what I understand, he had his bags packed. He was with his wife. Can you talk to us about what that was like when law enforcement came upon him?
Well, there was somewhat of a delay in actually getting an arrest warrant obtained for this defendant because we're not going to file a case until we feel like we've developed probable cause. Mm-hmm. Once we were able to do that, we made the warrant go active. We had the collaboration of a number of agencies around our area, and they were able to locate him on the east side of town. He was not at his home, but the incident or the arrest occurred without real incident. So anything more than that is going to get into facts that I eventually want to present to a jury and let them decide both guilt and innocence and what the appropriate punishment is.
Well, $1 million bail that you asked for and was granted. That's a lot of bail. It means he's not going to get out, I suspect. And is that because you sensed in some way that he was set to flee with not at his home and with a packed bag?
Yeah, certainly a flight risk is part of what we factor in when we recommend a bail amount. Another thing that we always factor in is a continuing danger to the community. For whatever reason, if you have the capability of drawing down and shooting an 11-year-old in the back and murdering them, that's someone that I don't want in our community until the process has been able to go through all of its machinations.
Yeah. Any castle doctrine on this? That the idea that this man was defending his home.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've been asked that.
Yeah.
This is an 11-year-old child who was found without any weapons, was not taking any property, had not tried to kick in the door, as I have seen mentioned around. He was doing what kids his age do. So he was not a threat to property or to this individual. This individual just murdered him.
Well,
and so the castle doctrine in no way applies to this.
Since you arrested him late, I'm guessing that you don't know if this individual was intoxicated or under the influence of drugs, since you got him late.
So my understanding is when officers contacted him that night, there weren't any obvious signs of intoxication. That's not, it's neither mitigating nor inculping. So it's not something that we know or will likely ever know.
Yeah.
District Attorney Teare, can you tell us a little bit about Julian Guzman's family? Do you know how they are doing?
We do as an office. We have one of the most robust and best victim assistance divisions in the country. They've reached out to the family. And one of the things that is part of our job now is to help them navigate this process and the justice system. They are the group that didn't volunteer to be here. And so we are stepping them through every bit of this, and we're going to be with them throughout it. I haven't personally talked to them because I have, as a line prosecutor, been across the table with thousands of families that have lost people. They don't need to hear from me right now. In the next couple of weeks, after the fog has at least begun to lift, I'll sit down with them and just express my condolences and let them know that I'm here for them as well. But we're going through the process, as we do in all of these cases, to make sure that they're looked after and informed.
I'm not a prosecutor, so I don't know the answer to this question. Do you know yet if you'll ask for the death penalty, or is that something that you wait until there's a person convicted?
So we always wait until we have all the evidence before I make that ultimate decision. But in this case, because of the age of the victim, he was 11. The death penalty is not a possibility. He can be and will likely be charged with capital murder before we go to trial, but it is not a death penalty eligible case.
Why is that?
The legislature, when they wrote the laws, if it is a child under the age of 10, you're eligible for the death penalty. Between 10 and 15, it is a life without parole punishment.
Interesting.
District Attorney Teare, can you tell us what are the next steps? What can we expect next?
So we've sped it up to make sure that we have the individual in custody, and now the investigation has to slow. We slow it to a crawl. We work through the ballistics evidence. We canvass the entire neighborhood. We want to paint the picture from both the defendant and the victims throughout the entire day. We want to know everything about everyone involved. And that takes time. We've got physical evidence to go through. We've got testimonial evidence to go through. So the next step is within about 90 days, we're going to present this case to a grand jury. We're going to ask them to return an indictment, which really is the next step. And then we'll likely begin to see what kind of time frame we're looking for a trial. In all likelihood, it will be well into the next year before we get to present this case to a jury.
Wow. Yeah, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Always is, it seems like.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. You're so kind to join us today. We really appreciate it. We haven't seen you here before, so please come back anytime.
I would love to come anytime and talk to Frank Billingsley, who I spent my youth watching on the weather. So
you can come talk to me too.
Thank you guys for having me.
I know. My youth disappeared really quickly. I don't know what happened to it.
Harris County District Attorney Sean Teare, again, thank you for joining us on Hello Houston.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. Good luck, man. Good luck.
Yeah, I mean, it truly is a case that is making national news. It's tragic.
It's always tragic when a child is shot. I mean, look
In
what
the
happened
back.
while we were on our Labor Day and that mass shooting up in Minneapolis.
Yes, it is.
It's just been
tragic.
I don't think we'll ever get used to it. And I hope we don't. I hope we always question and we always prosecute. I hope it's a deterrent. I was really surprised about this legislation. I still don't understand it. How if it's under a child under 10, death penalty eligible between 11 and 15, not, and then I guess after 15, you're an adult,
right?
And you're tried as an adult and it's prosecuted as in adulthood. But I don't quite understand why they wrote that this way. But but that's really not the point. The point is it is tragic.
It really is so sad because how many of us, I know in our neighborhood, kids do that all the time.
And I'm not going to be moral about this. 11-year-olds out doing this at 11 o'clock on a Saturday night just sort of sets a bad kind of landscape for things bad to happen. I mean, people are drunk on Saturday nights, all kinds of stuff.
Right.
But that's a whole different.
The
Somebody
whole
who was
other-
born in 1960s would say.
My dad always said, nothing good happens after
No.
midnight, Celeste.
But at the end of the day, our hearts to the victims.
Absolutely. We are thinking about Julian Guzman's family. And you can join the conversation at 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org.
Well, we're going to move on here. The Texas Senate on Tuesday evening tentatively approved a bill that allows private citizens, that's you and me, to sue anyone who manufactures, distributes, mails, or provides abortion medication to or from Texas. You could be awarded $100,000 in damage. Brian Hughes, a Republican from Mineola, said this bill is about, quote, protecting little unborn babies and their moms. I guess this is the Plan B pill, or am I wrong on that? I don't know much about this. Is this a Plan B pill?
I believe so.
An
Yeah,
abortion pill?
any type of
medication that would cause an abortion.
Right.
So don't you have to know that a woman is pregnant in order to cause an abortion?
Yes.
So if someone had sex Saturday night and wrote to me and said, could you send me some Plan B because I had sex unprotected, and I don't know what's come of it, but I don't know, and I send it to them, and then am I causing an abortion? Don't you have to be fully, or are they just saying because there's a chance?
Yes.
Well, then why isn't then you would think that any birth control would be
legitimate medical reasons.
Well, any birth control takes away the chance.
Right.
So Plan B takes away the chance. Until you know there's at least some heartbeat,
right?
Then you don't have
and
a
I think that's
pregnancy.
where a lot of the nuance and questioning becomes.
It's just bullying. It is just baiting and is bounty hunting.
It is political
It's bounty hunting. It's like, you know what?
Terrible.
If you do this, you could have a bounty on your head for $100,000.
Terrible.
It's crazy. I don't understand why we got here.
And you can join the conversation, 713-440-8870. Okay, I have something.
Yes, ma'am.
Democrats pressed for a Wednesday vote that would require Justice Department to release all government files related to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The House Oversight Committee on Tuesday released more than 33,000 pages of documents, including flight logs, court filings, and emails. However, lawmakers from both parties have argued most of the information was already public. Representative Thomas Macy, Republican of Kentucky, has filed a petition for a vote on the Epstein Files Transparency Act, a bipartisan bill he co-authored with Representative Ro Khanna, a Democrat of California. The measure would compel the Department of Justice to release all Epstein-related Records within 30 days. So far, 134 lawmakers, 130 Democrats, and 4 Republicans have signed on. What are your thoughts on the release of these files? Give us a call, 713-440-8870, or you can also email us, talk@hellohouston.org.
My thoughts are there's a reason they weren't all released. Most of what was released has already been released. So
of course,
it's like, where's the receipts, baby?
Give us the receipts, baby. That's what I want.
Yeah.
Give us the good stuff.
I
mean, actually, we're joking about this, but this truly is. They were victims of sexual abuse, and that is horrendous.
Well, they were having a
they
protest
deserve
today.
justice. And they did. They had a protest today. They spoke out and they said the abuse was 100% real. I believe the president came out and said that this is a Democratic ploy against him.
Well, that's not true, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think it is victims who want justice. And really, they're just saying, put it all out there. Mm-hmm. Let everyone decide what's right, what's wrong, what happened, what did it.
Well,
but
if
they can't do that if they don't put it all out there.
Names will be named.
Well, they named the names.
That's what everybody wants.
The
but that's
victims'
not
names are out there.
You're right.
So let it go.
713-440-8870. But there's a lot to talk about. One of the things that we're going to be talking about on Hello Houston is the latest uproar over Cracker Barrel's new logo. Barbara Stewart, coming up on Hello Houston. Barbara Stewart, professor of retail and consumer science at the University of Houston, joins us to talk about emotional power of branding, the risks of going modern, and whether there's more to these redesigns than meets the eye. This is News 88.7.
Hello, I'm Josh Adams, General Manager of Houston Public Media. This station just lost $2.2 million in federal support annually. To keep our station strong, we've launched the Resiliency Fund, powered by community members just like you. Your support will help bridge the funding gap and ensure these programs remain free and accessible to everyone. If public media and this station matter to you, now is the time to act. Support the Resiliency Fund today at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
This week in This American Life.
What would be wrong with one channel that showed nothing but puppies, acting the natural comedians and cuties that they are all day, every day?
After 25 years as a businessman, one man starts from scratch to create a cable network with this theme song.
Puppies, 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 puppies.
The cutest, fuzziest radio story on earth. This week.
You can hear This American Life coming up tonight at 9 p.m.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from CertaPro Painters, offering residential and commercial painting services, from color consultations to full project management. Estimates and more at CertaPro.com. Houston Public Media is a service of the University of Houston and is supported with your gifts to the Houston Public Media Foundation. More information available online at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from listeners like you and from Baylor College of Medicine. Through research and innovation, Baylor continues to redefine what's possible in healthcare and medical discovery.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on any of today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's Celestia Sherman and Frank Billingsley.
Cracker Barrel has long been known for its rocking chairs, biscuit breakfast, and old-timey charm. But its recent rebrand stirred up something more than just opinions. The updated logo sparked backlash from longtime fans, drew criticism from President Trump, and even triggered a sharp drop in company stock. So why do people react so strongly when a company tweaks its look? And why do brands with decades of recognition decide to change at all? Barbara Stewart is a professor of retail and consumer science at the University of Houston, joins us to talk about the emotional power of branding, the risks of going modern, and whether there's more to these redesigns than meets the eye. Barbara, welcome to Hello Houston.
Thank you very much.
And if you would like to join the conversation, you can give us a call or send us a text at 713-440-8870.
It seems to be food that really comforts us in rebranding of food. I mean, cars change styles. McDonald's does not change their arches. What's your take, Barbara, on all of this?
Well, there are some iconic things that are important to consumers, things they've grown to love over decades. The Cracker Barrel icon, for example, it's 55 years old.
I didn't even know that. I didn't even know Uncle Herschel. Is that his name?
Uncle Herschel.
I didn't even know that he had a name.
He has a name. He was named after the uncle of the founder, Dale.
Yeah. Okay, so Uncle Herschel obviously just sat around on a barrel.
He did. He kind of leans on it.
Probably waited for Aunt Mary to bring him biscuits, is my guess.
I didn't even realize people loved Cracker Barrel that much. I mean, I feel like it's kind of not like a super known.
It's kind of an after church place for Sunday, isn't it? People love to go there after church.
Or if you're traveling, I feel like also it's a traveling stop.
But since they're in 43 different states, that traveling part is really important. They can find Cracker Barrel along the road, anywhere they might be riding. And we build loyalty based on experience, consistent, good experiences. And Cracker Barrel through the years has done that.
Right.
In addition, we build loyalty because we have an emotional tie. We might remember something that happened at a Cracker Barrel, a conversation we had that warmed our hearts, a lunch with grandchild, something that is familiar.
But, I've got to say, I understand the loyalty and the comfort and the consistency. But what I don't understand is when a logo is changed, why that causes such a stir within somebody.
The logo was part of a larger rebranding. Cracker Barrel spent $700 million on a rebranding attempt.
$700 million.
Amazing, isn't it? And the logo is part of it. The logo they proposed was very sleek. Uncle Herschel and his Cracker Barrel were not there.
Herschel, you're out.
The lettering was much sleeker. And
what is a Cracker Barrel?
Well, a Cracker Barrel is, before we bought all of our crackers and various products in various cello or paper packaging, the barrel sat in the general store and you scooped out your portion of crackers.
Really?
Right.
That's really sanitary, isn't it?
General store, days gone by.
Well, don't you think that a lot of these places like Buc-ee's, Buc-ee's has the beaver and Whataburger, these food places and these traveling places, they do bring sort of an oasis in the desert to us all. So you are traveling, and it's like, oh, finally, a Cracker Barrel. And so that is a more emotional connection than like Ford deciding to rebrand the Taurus or something.
That's right. It's a people connection and a people to the store, and that idea of stopping along the road. Cracker Barrel has historically had a lot of merchandise that you wandered through while maybe you waited in line for your table to be ready.
They have like a little country store.
Little country store. You might not need any of it, but you probably buy some of it.
Totally. And so, quick question for you, Barbara. Cracker Barrel is not the first one to do this and have this type of outreach. What are some other brands that we have seen in the past that have had this type of situation?
Almost any long-term brand has had some kind of rebranding in the past. Walmart has, Target has, beers have notably had some debacles.
Foods.
That's right.
Uncle Ben rebranded.
Correct.
And Aunt Jemima rebranded. Betty Crocker.
Absolutely.
Again, those foods didn't seem to get the blowback that Cracker Barrel did.
Well, and some of them did, and some of our memory has faded. What's happened here is we're on a world of social media. So the change just gets blown out of proportion, or blown up if you like the uproar. So social media has made a big difference.
We do have this text, by the way, and it says, Barbara Stewart, I graduated from U of H in 1994. Some people called what Cracker Barrel tried to do was wokeification. That might have been part of the problem. What do you think about that?
That may be. There were some things posted on the Cracker Barrel website that led to that belief, and I do believe that some of the backlash was from that.
Well, I don't know if you remember John and Katie, but He was the one, right? You were his professor in the early 90s, proud consumer science and merchandising graduate.
Well, I love it.
And
Thank you very much.
I really enjoyed her class. That's John and Katie.
That's kind.
But I look at this and I think to myself, okay, it's blown out of proportion, but Cracker Barrel saw an absolute drop in stock. So talk to us about how the connection between, okay, you changed your logo, and now I'm not going to go eat there anymore.
That's right. They dropped $100 million when they announced the logo change and the rebranding. Now, it has since come back up.
Okay, so it's gone back up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it really would have affected them? I mean, at the end of the day, people still loved Cracker Barrel and would have gone, don't you think? I mean,
they may even benefit from all of this buzz because now you and I are thinking, 40 of their stores have been rebranded. They're now sleek and clean. I want to see one of those.
I want to see what's going on.
We may step back into a Cracker Barrel, experience their new menu, and be delighted. It's just that transition. So a wiser approach might have been incremental change, smaller change that might have captivated a new market. Cracker Barrel has a demographic that's tried and true, but it's an aging demographic. Mm-hmm. And so they, like all other businesses, need to keep getting new customers.
And that's what I was going to say. Dr. Stewart, how important is it for businesses, especially ones that have a legacy, a brand, to rebrand?
Oh, it's extremely important for them to either do it in a revolutionary or an evolutionary way. If they don't, they will fade with the times.
How much do you think that Trump coming out and making his comments played into this?
Well, led fire to the social media flow, and I think it did add to the
Do you think he's
hype.
ever been to a Cracker Barrel?
Oh, I bet he has. They're in 43 states. They've had 660 stores, and I believe he probably has.
We did receive a text that says Cracker Barrel did their best to turn themselves into, quote, just another IHOP. CEO needs to go. I'll try them one more time. The food better be good. And that's from Richard. And we have another YouTube comment. Denise Ulrich, the wine goddess of Texas, says, Land O'Lakes butter certainly got some negative feedback. It's all pretty silly, really. That's right, Land O'Lakes. So there's other brands. Is it all, I know we've talked about this, but all tied to food?
Or beer.
Beer.
Yeah, food and beverages. We feel food is near to our heart. It's part of our everyday life. We consume it consistently. And we consume food for more reasons than just to fill our nutritional needs. We go to restaurants, for example. We buy butter even. Social reasons. You go to a restaurant for a social reason. You go for an experience. You go to get out of the house or the office. You go for stimulation, and that is all the senses: sound, taste, touch, and sight. And so these things, particularly in restaurants and food products, are really important.
Change is hard, but Dr. Stewart, if you were consulting with Cracker Barrel, what would you have had them do differently?
I would have liked to have seen their research before they spent all this money on the rollout. It would be interesting to see whether they used focus groups, and if they did. Now, there are some reports that they did do research with their own employees and with customers. I would, from a researcher's point of view, want to make sure that they were doing that broad-based across their clientele.
They changed their menu and the look and all of that. You wonder if at some point somebody said, let's get rid of the old guy while we're at it. And it was like the last afterthought of this whole rebrand.
But it doesn't sound like it was an afterthought at all. I mean, $700 million. It sounds like they were very intentional.
The menus and all of that is part of that $700 million. The inside it wasn't just
everything.
taking off. It didn't cost $700 million to take Uncle Herschel off the logo. But you wonder if in all of this they said, look, we're too sleek now. The old guy's got to go. His following is starting to age out of the consumer business. They're on Jell-O now. And so we're going to get rid of them. And then that's what screwed them up.
That's right. Uncle Herschel is back. He's back on the logo.
And he's better than ever.
And that's the wisdom of marrying the old,
Let
the
me
love.
ask you, I have a personal question. Yeah. So when I was at Channel 2, they started a bit of a rebrand, and they took my face off of the weather app. But and I'm going to get to my point. It's not about me.
Okay.
But our research had shown that if you put a familiar face on an app, people are more likely to download it than if you put just the number 2 or whatever. And so they replaced it with the team of faces, right? But Uncle Herschel's a face. Aunt Jemima's a face. Betty Crocker's a face. All these. So how important is the face to the brand as opposed to just the colors, the name, the catchy logo?
Very important. We are human individuals. We are social individuals, and so we connect. If you have, studies have showed, for example, if you have a wall of images and one of them is a face, you will immediately be drawn to the eyes, nose, mouth region of that image.
That was my point. Why did they take my face off? Okay, now it is personal.
Well, you're listening to Hello Houston. We are speaking with Barbara Stewart, professor of retail and consumer science at the University of Houston, about the Cracker Barrel rebrand and why companies face backlash when they go modern. If you would like to join the conversation, you can give us a call or send us a text, 713-440-8870.
So Colby from Katy has a text that said, it seems the term woke now applies to brands that attempt to broaden their target markets. It is a little broad brushing. Oh, everything's woke. Is that true? Is everyone trying to be woke or not woke?
There may have been an element of that in this rebranding, but I don't think that's the major theme. I think that is a side parcel that became popularized through social media.
Okay, to Celeste's question. So you're the consultant. You want to see their research. Their research says you're looking a little tired and frayed. From that,
Uncle Herschel's looking a little tired.
Let's assume somebody said that. We're the same butter. Same Land O'Lakes rebrand butter. So where do you go from there? If they're going to do something, what would you have said? Okay, do this, but not that.
Well, they have attempted to do some of that. They have, for example, said we're going to still have antiques on our walls. So they're sleek white walls, but they still have antiques on them. So some of that has happened. You have to figure out how to retain what's loved and cared about and symbolic for the institution and marry that, which is new, innovative, and more likely to capture new customers.
Well, you and I both grow up with, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So why is everybody trying to fix stuff?
Well, actually, in Cracker Barrel, they did need fixing. Their foot traffic was down 16% over the last 5 years. And so that's good reason to think seriously about who you are and who you're attracting.
So from a business perspective, like you said, I mean, this backlash essentially could spike up their foot traffic.
It absolutely could.
Yeah.
I'm going to look inside the next Cracker Barrel I drive by.
And I love the Cracker Barrel.
But they didn't. I haven't been to a Cracker Barrel in 100 years. But you know why? And this was my question. It is heavy on the butter and the gravy and the Texas toast and all that. But they didn't. I don't know. Did they make any attempt to be more healthy or vegan or optional? Or is it still the same?
They had introduced, I believe, a plant burger in the past and had a huge backlash. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, I think it's important for the menus to react to the people. And if they find, again, back to research, that a vegan menu item is something that's desired, then they should test it in their kitchens, test it on test stores before rolling it out with great expense. Find out what it is people want. Historically, Cracker Barrel has been comfort food.
Right.
Down home.
Country cooking, back to its country roots. And that's why some have backlash that they're losing their country thing.
There's an EV charging station at the Cracker Barrel on the Gulf Freeway. What's that about?
Well, I think that's about attracting a new generation, a new clientele.
Poor Uncle Herschel.
Poor Uncle Herschel.
He might be very pleased.
Well, I have to ask, okay, so now you are consulting for Cracker Barrel moving forward and other brands. What would you suggest moving forward? They've had this backlash. What do they need to do to regain that trust?
I think I'd go back to the research again, ask their customers what they need and what they want, and take a look at, is this a small segment of their population? We may be hearing from a minority rather than a majority. They've got 40 stores that they've already redone, perhaps a few more. they can do consumer research in those new stores. Are those customers happy with what they see, or do they shudder at the white, sleek walls?
Oh, wait, I might go to a Cracker Barrel. My British computer guy just said, you can now get mimosas at Cracker Barrel. It's a Sunday morning treat for my wife and I. I did not know you could get mimosas at Cracker Barrel.
And that is part of their rebranding strategy.
This is a game
reaching
changer
out.
for Frank. This is a game changer for Frank.
I mean, it's certainly tempting.
No, but as we talk about branding and logos, that costs a lot of money. And what type of work goes into that smaller companies can try to do for themselves?
The design of logos, you're right. It is big business. It's highly impactful. And small companies can, again, do focus groups, do testing, asking more than their 5 good friends which one they like, but doing some real market research to see whether something they anticipate doing. It's very common that they will take a slate of multiple logos, test it in consumer panels, whittle it down, retest over and over again until they get it right.
I was going to ask you, what's your ultimate advice on generally speaking, rebranding anything, but I think I may have just heard it.
It's pay attention to the consumer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're the ones with the money.
They ring the cash register and they come back. And for whatever reason, it might not be your logo, it might be your biscuits and gravy, but customers are the ones that make the money.
Yep.
Barbara Stewart is a professor of retail and consumer science at the University of Houston. Barbara, thank you again for joining us on Hello Houston.
Thank you.
And your students love you.
Your students
I love it. I love to hear from my students.
Coming up, we'll discuss how prospective writers should go about writing their first novel. Stay with us as Hello Houston continues. With federal funding cuts, Houston Public Media has lost $2.2 million annually. In response, we have launched the Resiliency Fund, an urgent initiative to protect the programs and services you rely on. That includes PBS Kids, that provides free educational programming to children and families across Greater Houston. Your support of the Resiliency Fund helps keep this vital service accessible to our community. Give now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
And it could be worth hundreds of dollars in support. Visit houstonpublicmedia.org/cars to learn more. And thanks.
It's a safe bet that job gains are going to be limited for a while.
We don't actually have enough population growth normally to sustain that kind of job growth. And yet people kept showing up. Where were they showing up from? Other countries.
I'm Kai Rizdal. Immigration, now and always a labor market story. Next time on Marketplace.
You can listen to Marketplace coming up tonight at 6:30.
Today, median U.S. home prices are at a record high. You know what else is? The age of first-time home buyers.
We would make jokes like, what was I doing in 3rd grade? I should have been buying a house instead of learning multiplication. Just because it's been so difficult.
How one state is pushing developers to build starter homes people can actually afford. On the next All Things Considered from NPR News.
You can hear that today at 3 o'clock.
Support comes from Moody Center for the Arts, opening their fall 2025 exhibition, Biomorph, on September 5th from 6 to 8 p.m. 7 international artists explore the intersection of biology, society, and technology. Details at moody.rice.edu. Support for Houston Public Media comes from Near Northwest Management District, with a developer-friendly environment, and Houston's 6th largest business center. More information at nnmd.org, at the intersection of innovation.
And now back to Hello Houston. To get your comment in on any of today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now here's Celestia Sherman and Frank Billingsley.
All right, Celeste, you have a novel in you somewhere.
Maybe.
Maybe. I have someone with us right now that can help get that out of you.
Yes. Then the answer is yes.
Yes.
I have one in me.
There's got to be a little Nancy Drew in there
totally.
somewhere. All right. Marie-Claude Gingras is a Houston-based author and a faculty member at the Baylor College of Medicine's Human Genome Sequencing Center. I love that. We had Family Tree DNA in here last week, which is one of the Ancestry and 23andMe type companies. So I love genome stuff. So I'm so glad you're here. I know you've authored 70 scientific articles, but that's not what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about your first novel, the surprise suspense thriller No Stones Left Unturned, which was published earlier this year. Congratulations on that. And welcome to Hello Houston, Marie-Claude.
Thank you. My
We're
pleasure.
delighted you're here. And before we get started, you have a French accent.
Oh, yeah. I'm from Quebec City.
I love Montreal.
You were just there.
I was just in Montreal and
Yes.
Paris a couple of weeks ago.
And
So
London.
you and I should go to dinner.
We should.
You can tell me what to order.
Yes.
All right. Tell me what to...
Or you can come home and I can cook you some
That's
French
it.
Canadian
Okay,
food.
so I will
Done.
bring some
Done.
Chateauneuf de Pape
I'm
and
in-
some Bollinger Champagne.
Fantastic.
It's
You're
a day.
on.
I'm inviting myself to this dinner. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, a career scientist becomes a mystery author. How did that happen?
Oh, well, it's the stress. It's the stress. I mean, well, you know, when you are a scientist, you have a lot on your mind. You need to do a lot of things. And at night, I mean, everything is in your mind and it's rolling and you cannot sleep. And counting lamps going over the fence, not my type.
So this was therapy for you.
So I was doing story in my head, whatever, listen during the day, whatever, you implicate yourself. Oh, what about if, I would be this person? And suddenly this this story came into my mind.
But it's interesting that this was therapy and this was a way for you to relax, but it's a thriller.
Yes.
So why a thriller and not necessarily a romance novel?
I love thriller. I mean, I read the 80 books from Agatha Christie. And after that, I read Michael Crichton and Kathy Reich. And from there, I realized that even if I'm a molecular biologist, I can do something else also. Perhaps I should put by writing what now was keeping me awake during the night.
Michael Crichton, he wrote Andromeda Strain.
He was,
and then he did Jurassic Park,
which
Coma. Remember
Yes.
Coma? So he used a lot of his medical expertise to carve out these really interesting mysteries. So in your mind, while you're trying to get to sleep at night, you're writing them in your head. So when did you decide to put it on paper?
When I couldn't sleep anymore because
okay, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Have you been writing this for 20 years? What happened?
No. It took me 2 years to write it because, I mean, I had only a few minutes here and there, 15 minutes before going to sleep, or the Saturday. Mostly my Saturday was mine, and I was writing that. So it took me 2 years.
So what is the difference between writing a novel versus writing a scientific publication?
The style. It's a
style?
lot of difference. Like when you write a paper, you have the introduction, material and method, the result, the discussion, no emotion, straight to the point. Nothing, no thrill, no mystery. It's that and this is it. And there you need, in a novel, you need to put the description of the environment, the chair, the color of the chair, the people, what they look like, and after that, the emotion. That was the most difficult thing, to put in writing the emotion that people,
feel when they read.
Did you have any coaching, or you just brought it out from way down?
Like that.
Good for you. And then in a lot of, in any mystery, you really need that.
Yeah.
And then the phone rang moment. Then the light and the tower, Nancy Drew, came on. Do you have a lot of that? You just gave me this, so I haven't read it. But you have a lot of that sort of what's going to happen next?
Well, I think after you have it in your hand and you said, wow, I did it, the reality just came into view. Oh, wow, now I need to market it. And that's the big thing, to market it.
And it's all, it's always important. I always say no more than 2 words in a title, like love story, Jaws, the Bible, even God follows that rule. So No Stones Left Unturned. I think you did it pretty well with 4 words. So where did you come up with the name?
Well, it comes from don't leave any stone unturned. That's right? The expression. Leave no stone unturned. And there's a lot of twists back and forth in there, and you need to go through the whole book to discover, and you need to turn all the stone to make sure that you do a very good search to find out who is behind all the kidnapping of those children.
Okay. I got to give people, now that we're talking about this book, a little bit about what it is, right? Okay, so Martha and Jeff are desperate. Stephen, their 9-year-old child, is vanished. In 2036, he's just many of the children who've disappeared over the last decade from a peaceful region of Vermont. The FBI is called in. Different folks are in this, and then chasing a link that they uncover to a massive corporate cover-up. Their quest to rescue Stephen and the other kids takes them to Alaska and Montana. They discover that these child abductions go far beyond what they could have imagined, and that finding Stephen is just the beginning. No stones left unturned.
Exactly.
What do you hope readers take away from your book?
Well, outside enjoying it, I think there is a few things. Well, one of it is Layla is special because she has some gift of extrasensorial perception. She can do telepathy, and so she is special. And I think people who are out of the ordinary, out of the mass, they should be proud of that, because that brings some other perspective to the world. And this is one of the things that I think. I love Layla. I mean,
tell us about Layla. She's the main character. You said that she is special in her own way. So you think that people can really connect with Layla?
I hope so.
Yeah,
I hope so.
Oh, well, and what about the other characters? Where did they come from?
Well, you have Ryan, and Ryan is more like he bases his action on facts. And so it's more like a rational person and no emotion. He doesn't like to see people crying. He hates that. I mean, it's need to be fact and
like a scientist.
Like a scientist.
Yeah, because Layla and Ryan don't really get along.
Well, not at the beginning. That's the thing. They have an opposite view of how to solve that. Mm-hmm. And they clash. But after a certain time, they realize that both of them have something that will help them solve all the crime.
Okay, so you've got this ready to go. Did you have a lot of friends read it first?
Yes.
Of course.
Yes, and not only friends, because friends are too nice sometimes. You try to look for someone that is able to do a lot of critique. Mm-hmm. So those people will read it and they will say, oh, no, I don't like that. Or you need to do more. You're lacking a chapter there. You should, and that's the negative point that help you make it better. And that's the same thing. I mean, when you have an editor, when you publish, usually you also have an editor, and the editor will read it and will tell you, oh, do this or that. And this is, you need as a writer, even if those big, famous writer have editor that tell them you need to have humility. I mean, to accept all those things. This is how you will get better. Those critics.
Well, besides the editor and getting feedback, which I'm sure could be hard, what were some of the challenges that you faced getting your book published?
Well, you need to find a publisher because...
Which I understand is not easy.
No, that's not. Because usually the normal way of doing it, when you are famous or known or whatever, you have an agent, and the agent will approach all the publisher.
They won't take anybody.
No, they won't. So that's the point. When you are a first-time author, you don't get an agent. So you need to go to, or you self-publish, which require a huge amount of time, or you need to find other type of publisher that will go like a hybrid. So if the book is good, they will take you and support you with an editor. They will have also the illustrator, they will do the ISBN registration, a part of the marketing, they will have also distributor. So this is the best if you can find a publisher that has all that to support you.
So No Stones Left Unturned, Marie-Claude Gingras. Is it on Amazon?
It is.
Yes.
It is everywhere.
Everything's on Amazon. If you're not on Amazon, nobody's going to find
Exactly. But it is everywhere. It is because I have a distributor. Kohler Publisher is a good place to start if you are accepted among their first writer group. And they have all that. They support you. So
Well, you've got great praise.
So there is support out there for young writers or budding writers out there that are ready to write their novel.
And so you can find it. Because of that, I don't need to do my own distribution. So now you can find it all on the web book site. You can, the brick and mortar, you can order it also.
I look forward to reading it. So what's your favorite thing to cook?
Well, it's all depends. If it's Christmas or it's just every day.
Marie-Claude Gingras is a Houston-based author and faculty member at Baylor College of Medicine's Humane Genome Sequencing Center. Thank you,
so
Marie-Claude. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
And that brings us to the end of our show.
Hump Day.
Hump Day.
Tomorrow's Thursday.
That's right. We want to thank you for watching, joining, chatting, engaging with us today on Hello Houston. We will be back tomorrow.
And more thanks to Sean Teare for being a fan.
With more conversations, this is News 88.7.
Thanks for listening to Hello Houston. Join us every Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. to talk all things Houston. The Hello Houston production team includes Garrett Bowman, William Menjivar, Jen Altai, Todd Holslander, and Jim Kovacic. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at houstonpublicmedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from attorney mediator Ron Bankston, providing in-person, video conferencing, and hybrid mediation and arbitration services. More information is available at ronbankston.com.